Meet Priya. She's 34, married, 2 kids, and she makes $71,000 a year as a marketing manager. That's just her day job. She also runs an Etsy shop. She has a drop shipping store. She's got a small stock portfolio that pays dividends. And she rents out a spare room on Airbnb. 4 income streams on top of her real job. If you saw her on paper, you'd think she has it all figured out. She looks like the exact person every finance video tells you to become. But here's what her life actually looks like. She sleeps 5 hours a night. She hasn't had a real day off in 8 months. And her net worth, the actual number that shows if she's building wealth, has moved less than $4,000 in 3 years. 3 years of grinding for $4,000. She did everything the internet told her to do. So why is she more tired and more broke than she was back when she had just one job? Stick around, because that question is about to make a lot more sense. I'm Kingsluck, and I spend way too much time figuring out why busy people stay broke. If you've got a side hustle, a stock app opens on your phone, maybe even a rental room, and you're still checking your bank balance with a knot in your stomach, this video is for you. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly why chasing multiple income streams is quietly keeping you poor. And more importantly, you'll know what to do instead. Here's the thing about Priya's situation. It has a name. I call it the income stream fallacy. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You've probably heard this stat before, maybe in a YouTube short, maybe from some guy in a rented Lamborghini. The average millionaire has 3.4 income streams. It gets thrown around like it's proof that if you just add more income streams, you'll become a millionaire too. Stack enough side hustles, and boom, wealth. That stat is actually real, by the way. It comes from a researcher named Thomas C. Cawley. He spent years studying the daily habits of self-made millionaires, and yes, he found they averaged 3.4 income streams. So far, the internet got that part right. But here's what almost nobody tells you. The internet kept the number and threw away the actual story behind it. Cawley's research didn't find that these millionaires launched 4 income streams all at once while working a full-time job, exhausted and stretched thin. That is not what happened. What actually happened is they built one income stream first. They worked on it. They grew it until it was actually strong, until it was actually making real money on its own. And only then, sometimes years later, did they add a second stream, then a third, then a fourth. One at a time. Each one built on top of a base that was already solid. That is a completely different strategy than what most people are doing today. Most people hear 3.4 income streams and think, okay, I need to start 4 things right now. So they do. They open an Etsy shop on Monday, start a dropshipping store on Tuesday, download a stock trading app on Wednesday, and list a spare room on Airbnb by Friday. All while still working their main job. All starting from zero at the exact same time. That's not what the millionaires in the study did. Not even close. They played the long game, one careful step after another. What got copied was the headline number. What got left behind was the sequencing, the years, the patience, and the fact that each stream had time to actually mature before the next one started. So when Priya is running 4 different things and still isn't building wealth, she's not failing at the strategy. She's not even using the strategy. She's using a rumor about the strategy. And that gap between what the research actually found and what got repeated online is exactly where people like Priya end up stuck, exhausted, and broke. Let's rewind for a second, because understanding where this all started actually matters here. Go back to, say, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. The standard path to building wealth looked pretty simple. You picked one career. You got good at it. Really good. You showed up, you learned the skill, you became the person your company didn't want to lose. And because of that, you got raises. You got promoted. Your paycheck grew, not because you added a second job, but because you got better at your first one. Alongside that one strong paycheck, you had one appreciating asset working quietly in the background. Usually a 401k, slowly growing every single month whether you thought about it or not. Or maybe it was the equity in your house, climbing year after year, just by you living your normal life. That was basically it. One income, one asset. And that combination, given enough time, was actually enough. This is important, so let's sit with it for a second. Specialization was the whole game. The deeper you went into one skill, one role, one industry, the more valuable you became. Companies paid a premium for expertise. If you were the best at the one thing you did, you got rewarded for being that person, not for being spread across 5 different things. And the asset side worked the same way. Compounding doesn't need you to hustle. It just needs time and consistency. Money sitting in a retirement account, growing at a steady percentage every year, adds up in a way that feels boring in the moment, but looks incredible 20 years later. Same with home equity. You weren't flipping houses or managing 5 rental properties. You bought one home, you lived in it, and the market slowly did the rest. Nobody back then was telling you to open an Etsy shop on the side. Nobody was telling you that you needed 4 income streams to be considered financially responsible. The advice was actually simple. Get good at one thing. Let one asset compound. Be patient. That was the baseline. That was normal. And honestly, it worked for a lot of people, not because they were doing more, but because they were doing less, just doing it consistently, for a long time. So when you compare that to what Priya is doing right now, juggling a full-time job, an Etsy shop, a dropshipping store, dividends, and an Airbnb room, you start to see just how far the standard advice has drifted from what actually used to work. So what happened? How did we go from get good at one thing to Priya running 4 different businesses on 5 hours of sleep? A few things changed, and they changed fast. First, the gig economy exploded. Apps made it stupidly easy to start something on the side. You could open an online shop in an afternoon. You could sign up to drive, deliver, or rent out a room by dinner time. The barrier to starting something new basically disappeared. And when starting something is that easy, a lot of people start a lot of somethings. Second, hustle culture became content. Actual content, made specifically to keep you watching. According to recent data from Bankrate, close to 40% of Americans now report having a side hustle. That is not a small trend. That is basically half the country being told, in one way or another, that one job is no longer enough. Every other video is someone showing you their 5 income streams, their passive income dashboard, their how I make money while I sleep screen recording. Third, and this is the sneaky one, social media only shows you the wins. Nobody posts a video of their dropshipping store losing $50 a month. Nobody films themselves quietly giving up on the Etsy shop that never took off. You only see the person who scaled their side hustle to 6 figures, and you have no idea how many other people tried the exact same thing and got nothing. So it starts to feel normal, even required, to have multiple streams, because that's all you're shown. And on top of all that, prices went up. Inflation made a single paycheck feel smaller, even when it technically grew. So people started to feel like one income wasn't safe anymore. Not because it stopped working, but because it stopped feeling like enough. Put all of that together, and you get a very specific kind of pressure. The same pressure you'd feel about money in the stock market got applied to your actual time. You've heard don't put all your eggs in one basket about investing, right? Somewhere along the way, that advice got quietly copied over to income. Except your money can sit in 5 different accounts without getting tired. You cannot. That's the shift. Starting something got easier. The pressure to start many things got louder. And nobody stopped to ask if spreading yourself across 4 income streams was actually the same thing as spreading your money across 4 investments. It isn't. And that mix-up is exactly what's draining people like Priya. Okay, let's actually run the numbers on Priya's 4 income streams. Not the dream version. The real version. Her Etsy shop nets about $150 a month after she pays for materials and fees. That takes her roughly 10 hours a week to run, between making the products, answering messages, and packing orders. Her dropshipping store is actually losing money. After ad spend, she's down about $50 a month. She keeps it running because she's sure it will turn a profit eventually. It hasn't yet. Her dividend portfolio, the one she's proud of because it feels the most grown up, earns her about $90 a year. Not a month. A year. That works out to about $7.50 a month. Her Airbnb room brings in about $200 a month, once you subtract the extra cleaning, the wear on the furniture, and the time she spends managing guests. Add it all up. $150, minus 50, plus 7.50, plus 200. That comes out to around $300 a month in extra income. Now let's look at what that actually costs her. Between all 4 streams, she's putting in more than 25 hours a week. Let's be conservative and say exactly 25. Multiply that by roughly 4.3 weeks in a month, and she's working about 108 hours a month for that $300. Do the division. 300 divided by 108. That's about $2.77 an hour. Let that sit for a second. She could make more than that stocking shelves at a grocery store on a Tuesday night. Now here's the part that actually stings. What if she had taken those same 25 hours a week for 1 year and put every single one of them into getting better at her actual job, learning the skill her company values most, making herself the obvious pick for the next promotion? A realistic raise from that kind of focused effort is somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a year. That works out to roughly $800 to $1,250 a month. Not once, every single month, from now on. And it doesn't stop there, because a bigger salary also means bigger 401k contributions, which means that money starts compounding for her retirement too. So compare the 2 paths. 4 scattered income streams, 25 hours a week, for $300 a month. Or 1 focus skill, the same 25 hours a week, for up to 4 times the money, recurring, and growing her retirement in the background. Same hours, completely different outcome. And Priya picked the version that pays her $2.77 an hour. So if the math is that bad, why does someone smart, someone like Priya, keep doing it anyway? This is where it gets interesting, because it's not really a money problem. It's a thinking problem. And it actually has a name. I call it misapplied diversification bias. That sounds complicated, but stick with me, because it's actually simple once you see it. You've probably heard the classic investing rule: don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your money across different stocks, different funds. So if one drops, you're not wiped out. That rule is true. It works. For money. The problem is, somewhere along the way, people started applying that exact same rule to their time. If spreading out your dollars protects you, spreading out your hours must protect you too, right? Except money doesn't get tired. Money doesn't have to remember 4 different passwords, 4 different customer messages, and 4 different to-do lists. Your attention does. Every time you jump from your day job to Etsy, to dropshipping, to guest messages on Airbnb, you pay a tax. It's called a switching cost. Your brain needs time to refocus every single time you change tasks, and that cost never shows up on a bank statement, but it's very real. Then there's the second trap, the sunk cost trap. Priya has already put months into that dropshipping store. It's losing her money, but quitting feels like admitting all that time was wasted. So instead of cutting it loose, she keeps feeding it, hoping it turns around. That feeling, I already put so much in, I can't stop now, is one of the most expensive feelings in personal finance. It keeps people stuck in things long after the numbers have already told them the truth. And the third piece, this one sneaky, is what I'd call business as productivity. Being busy feels like winning. Priya's calendar is packed. Her to-do list never ends. That constant motion feels like proof that she's doing something right. But busy and valuable are not the same thing. She's not lazy, not even close. She's just spending her most valuable resource, focused hours, in tiny fragments across 4 different places instead of pouring it all into the one thing that would actually move her forward. So this isn't about Priya being bad with money. It's about a rule that makes total sense for a stock portfolio getting quietly copied over to a human being's time and energy, where it just doesn't hold up the same way. Now let's zoom out, because $300 a month doesn't sound like a disaster on its own. But stretch it across 5 years, and put it next to the other path, and the gap gets hard to look at. Let's call these 2 people Person A and Person B. Person A is on Priya's path. Person B is on the focus path we talked about earlier. Person A keeps juggling 4 or 5 income streams for 5 straight years. Some months are better than others. The dropshipping store finally breaks even, then loses money again. The Etsy shop stays steady. Add it all up over 5 years, and Person A nets somewhere around $18,000 extra. That's the total. 5 years of exhaustion, missed weekends, and a packed schedule, for $18,000. But the money isn't even the worst part. Person A is burnt out. Actually burnt out. The kind that shows up in your relationships too. Less time with a spouse. Less patience with the kids. Fewer weekends that feel like rest instead of a second job. And after all of that, when person A checks their actual net worth, the number everyone forgets to look at, it has barely moved. Now look at person B. Same starting point. Same 25 extra hours a week. But instead of splitting those hours 4 ways, person B puts every single one of them into one lever. Maybe that's climbing toward a senior role at work. Maybe it's taking one side business and actually scaling it past $3,000 a month, instead of running 4 businesses that barely clear a few hundred combined. Over that same 5 years, person B nets more than $70,000 extra. Not $18,000. 70. And here's the part that really matters. Person B is working normal hours. One asset is actually compounding, actually growing on its own, instead of 4 tiny streams trickling in and out. Same starting income. Same amount of extra time available. One person split it 4 ways and ended up tired and stuck. The other person focused it into one place and ended up nearly 4 times richer, with their evenings and weekends still intact. This is the real cost of the income stream fallacy. It's not just the $2.77 an hour we talked about earlier. It's 5 years of your life spent scattered instead of focused, and a net worth that shows exactly how much that scattering actually cost you. Okay, so if scattering yourself across 4 things is the trap, what's the actual way out? Here's the framework I want you to take from this video. I call it one deep stream first. The idea is simple. You pick one thing. Just one. It could be a skill at your current job that would actually get you promoted. It could be one side business you already have, the one with the most real potential. It could even just be building a fully funded emergency fund, so you finally have breathing room. Whatever you pick, that becomes the only thing you're building for now. And here's the key part. You don't move on to a second stream just because you started the first one. You move on once that first stream hits a real threshold of value. Not a feeling. An actual number you can point to. For a skill, that threshold might be getting promoted or landing the raise you are aiming for. For a business, it might be hitting consistent profit, actual profit, month after month, not just occasional good weeks mixed in with losses. For an emergency fund, it's simple. It's full. 3 to 6 months of expenses, sitting there, done. Once you hit that threshold, and only then, you're allowed to think about stream number 2. And here's what makes this whole approach different from what Priya was doing. You don't launch stream 2 from zero, exhausted, squeezing it in around everything else. You buy it with the profits and the leverage the first stream already gave you. Maybe that's extra income from your raise, funding a business you can now afford to be patient with. Maybe it's the confidence and stability from a full emergency fund, letting you take a smart risk you couldn't take before. That's the real difference between what Colley's actual research showed and what got copied online. Sequential stacking, not simultaneous scattering. One thing, built all the way up, then the next thing, built on top of it. This isn't about being lazy or playing small. It's actually the opposite. It's about being patient enough to let one thing get strong before you ask it to hold up 3 more things next to it. Priya doesn't need a 5th income stream. She needs to pick her strongest one, maybe her actual job, maybe the Etsy shop, and go all in on that until it's genuinely paying off. Everything else can wait its turn. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started, with Priya running 4 things and barely moving her net worth. Here's the one line I want you to actually remember from this whole video. Millionaires didn't get rich doing 5 things badly. They got rich doing one thing exceptionally well, and then buying a second stream with what the first one made them. That's it. That's the whole fallacy, undone in one sentence. Not 5 half-built businesses running on fumes. One strong thing, built with real focus, that eventually earned enough to fund the next one. So here's the question I want you to actually sit with, not just nod at and scroll past. Which one stream, out of everything you're currently juggling, would actually move the needle if you doubled down on just that one for the next 12 months? Not all 4. Not 5. 1. The one you already know, deep down, has the most real potential, if you gave it your full attention instead of a quarter of it. You don't need more income streams. You need one deep stream, built the right way, in the right order. If this video helped you see your own hustle a little differently, go ahead and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe if you want more videos like this one, videos that actually dig into why smart, hard-working people stay stuck. And drop a comment and tell me, which stream are you doubling down on for the next 12 months? I actually read these, and I'd love to know what you're choosing.